Contention. Critique. Conjecture. Conclusion.
The Huddle with paperplusoffice.co.nz. Shop online anytime. They're open 24/7.
Josie Pagani is with us once again. Hello, Josie.
Hi,
nice
Larry.
to talk to you. And Cameron Slater from whaleoil.co.nz, editor of The Truth. G'day, Cam.
Hey, how are you?
Josie, Parakura Horomia dies at the age of 62. It's very sad. It seems that he has been quite sick for some time. I guess you got to know him. What do you see here?
Oh, I feel really sad about this, Larry. He was a big, gentle giant. And to someone like me, he was incredibly kind. He made me feel very welcome in the Labour Party. And I think what a lot of people don't necessarily see with someone like Parakura is just the leadership role he played behind the scenes. He was extremely influential amongst those Labour Māori MPs, but also in Māoridom generally. I mean, he had huge networks right across the country. He was just a lovely, kind man, and someone who certainly made me feel very welcome.
And Cameron, it seems that he was very well liked from all politicians.
I remember in the 2008 election, David Farrer and I visited Gisborne as guests of Richard Harmon's TV program, and they had in the town, well, not in the town hall, in the theatre there on the outskirts of Gisborne, a debate between Derek Fox and Parakura Horomia. And it was a fantastic evening. The hall was filled with people. It was good old-fashioned small-town politics. And, you know, Parakura and Derek Fox just went at each other, hammer and tongs, and at the end of it we all went out to dinner, and it was just a very memorable evening, and that's the lasting memory that I have of Parakura Horomia.
And I tell you what, Larry, I mean, he increased his majority in 2008 when Labour lost. I mean, he's one of those Labour MPs who had an incredible pool of support to draw on right across the board. And I think that says a lot about, you know, as I said, the role that he played behind the scenes in his own community, amongst his own people.
He's one of the few people, I think, who was an accomplished civil servant who went on to use the skills that he garnered in the civil service to good effect as an MP.
We'll come back in just a moment. Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater on The Huddle. It's now 17-6.
Larry Williams Drive with the new ANZ, the bank that gives you more.
Back on The Huddle with Josie Pagani and Cameron Slater. Issue number 2 to you, Cameron, and Aucklanders are being asked to give their views on how to pay for a $400 million annual transport shortfall over the next 30 years. 2 options, essentially. 1, increase rates and fuel taxes. 2, road pricing, which is tolls on motorways, congestion charges for the inner city. What do you see?
What about option 3, ditch the stupid rail loop and apply the money to actually fixing the roading system that was designed in the 1950s and never completed by various governments?
Oh, here we go.
Well, the bottom line, Josie, is that Len Brown's options are always to try and tax people. He's ratcheted up the rates. He promised that he would have rates at no more than the rate of inflation. People are getting rates bills that are capped at 10%, but it says on the rates bills it's 20% or 18%. You can't keep taxing the citizens to keep paying for frivolities, and the city needs to cut its cloth according to its income.
Josie, what's your take on this? Because I think you can argue against bus and rail and all that stuff, but the fact is, for the future, you have to invest in transport and infrastructure in the right places, and someone has to pay for it. What do you see?
Yeah, I know Cam thinks that buses and trains are Marxist communist conspiracy, but the truth is this is actually a plan about roads and buses, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And doing nothing is not an option, and that's all
Absolutely.
I can hear you saying, Cam.
No,
because it's costing
Hold on, Cameron. Yep.
It's costing about $1 billion a year for the economy in Auckland. It's the city of snails right now.
So what would you do, Cameron?
Yeah.
Well, the problem that Len Brown's got with his congestion pricing is that the very roads he wants to toll he doesn't own. They're owned by NZTA. They own the motorways, and that's the part that he wants to free up. So all he's going to do if he tries to toll that is for a start, he needs legislation to change. The second thing, he's going to push everybody onto the suburban roads, which are going to be worse.
Well, actually, in that respect, I agree with you, Cam, because I think the problem with this, with doing congestion charges, which is actually about reducing congestion, and then tolls, which is about raising money to build more roads or something,
Don't
or
get
public
me wrong,
transport.
Josie. I'm all for tolls because you know what? It'll get all of the poor people off the roads and out of my way, and I'll be able to drive on the road. It's the same as putting petrol prices up to like $5.
And they can all go home and eat jelly meat.
Well, I was a bit...
Cam, the thing is, though, the problem with this, and I think you mentioned this before, Larry, that if your strategy is going to be to ration the use of roads, that's fine as long as you're doing something to improve public transport. Before Cam jumps down my throat to accuse me of being Hugo Chavez, the point is you've got to have a balance here. And I think that it works in London because the London Underground is just so brilliant.
Well, they've got a great rail system that loses trucks loads of money.
Building the London Underground in 1870. This is.
But Cam, if people like you hadn't been against it, we'd have an underground system now with Doug Myers, Mayor Doug Myers.
On the Kapiti Coast. You don't live in Auckland. You don't understand it. You can't run trains in Auckland. We have an isthmus. It's 1.5 kilometres wide. Everything has to go through it.
But what do you do, Cam?
You build better roads because buses need roads.
All right.
Buses are a more effective public transport method for people than trains.
Well, I think you do all of that.
You can't build trains.
I think you do a balance.
Okay, issue 3, Josie, let's move through this very quickly. The oil and gas, Simon Bridges is opening up some blocks for tenders. I think this is good as long as the correct environmental procedures, we don't want to butcher the environment. I think everybody understands this, but I think this is good. What do you see?
That's right. And look, the Greens have every right to stand up and say we have to protect the environment, and thank God they do, because all of us want that to happen. We want the environment to be protected. The problem is that they get it wrong when they think it's a choice between either looking after the environment or developing your petroleum reserves. It's actually both, yeah. So you don't, because air travel is dangerous, we don't ban air travel. We have stringent standards and regulations that protect us.
Right, and I think
I want the benefits to come to New Zealand jobs, and I want the profits to end up here. I don't want them to end up overseas.
And what do you say on this, Cam?
Look, I'm in agreement with Josie on that, and you're not going to hear that very often on this show. But the bottom line is we're blessed with these natural resources. As long as they're easy to get and cost-effective to get, we should drill it, mine it, sell it. It's as simple as that. And listening to the carping and the whining of the Green Taliban, who quite frankly don't want anything. They're anti-human and they're anti-progress. And they should just be ignored, and we need to get on and get our own people exploring, drilling, mining, and building businesses around this very vital infrastructure and natural resources. We just get on with it.
Thank you, Cameron. Cameron Slater and Josie Pagani on the Huddle. It's now 10 to 6.